If you thought FromSoftware had already explored despair in Dark Souls, cosmic horror in Bloodborne, or even the quiet decay of a world clinging to grace in Elden Ring, then Sekiro does something even more unsettling. It strips the fantasy down to something painfully human. No fading fire to rekindle, no eldritch gods whispering from the void, just a dying country, a frightened ruling class, and a supernatural power that promises to save everyone while quietly destroying them from within. Sekiro's darkest lore is about what people will sacrifice to avoid losing power.
Spoiler alert. Good evening. In Sekiro, immortality is the real danger. Even the AI slop I used to make knows that respawning that many times is not character growth. It's a cry for help.
Ashina is already on borrowed time when the game begins. Ishin once carved the land free through sheer martial brilliance. But rebellion only buys time. It doesn't stop it. The Interior Ministry is advancing. Resources are thinning. Ishin is old and sick. The snow-covered castles and battlefields are not just aesthetic choices. They signal a regime in winter. This is a country facing extinction, and extinction breeds desperation. That desperation leads its leaders to something more dangerous than any invading army: immortality. And before everything collapses, the land is almost peaceful. At the center of everything is the divine heir, whose dragon's heritage grants the power of resurrection. On the surface, it sounds like salvation, the ability to defy death, to stand back up after every fatal blow. But Sekiro immediately complicates this gift. Every time Wolf resurrects, dragon rot spreads through the land. Innocent people grow ill. Coughing blood becomes the background music of your persistence. Immortality here is not a miracle. Someone else pays for your survival. The game never lets you forget that your second chance costs someone their health, their hope, maybe even their life. Genichiro embodies themes of moral collapse perfectly. He is not a cackling villain obsessed with domination. He's terrified. He sees the inevitable fall of his homeland and cannot accept it. Instead of preparing for defeat or negotiating survival, he turns to forbidden power. He drinks the rejuvenating waters. He kidnaps the divine air by convincing himself that strength at any cost is justified if it means preserving his clan. His tragedy is that his love for his country curdles into obsession. By the end, he sacrifices everything, even summoning his own grandfather back from death, because he cannot tolerate a world where his clan loses. Genichiro's downfall isn't rooted in cruelty. It's rooted in fear of irrelevance. The rejuvenating waters themselves are one of the game's most disturbing pieces of lore. Flowing beneath this land and tainted by the presence of an otherworldly dragon, the waters offer a corrupted imitation of the dragon's heritage. The monks of Senpu Temple drink deeply, believing immortality will bring enlightenment. Instead, their bodies twist and warp. Some become undying husk, animated by parasitic centipedes burrowed into their flesh. Others conduct horrific experiments on children in a failed attempt to manufacture divinity. The idea of spiritual transcendence rots into body horror. Faith becomes justification for evil. Immortality becomes infestation. Even Wolf, our protagonist, is shaped by a culture of control and exploitation. Raised by Al under the Iron Code, he has been conditioned to obey without hesitation. A shinobi does not question. A shinobi does not fill. A shinobi exists to serve. The horror here is subtle, but profound. Wolf has never been allowed to form an identity. His loyalty is not noble, it's engineered. When Al reappears and commands him to abandon the divine heir, the player is confronted with the possibility that Wolf may once again surrender his will. If you choose to obey, you trigger a sure ending, one of the bleakest conclusions FromSoftware has ever written. In the sure path, Wolf becomes a demon of bloodlust, killing Emma and Ishin without hesitation. It does not feel like a twist. It feels like the logical endpoint of a life built entirely around violence and obedience. Throughout the game, the sculptor warns about Shura, warriors who kill until killing is all they are. The transformation isn't magical so much as psychological. Violence becomes identity. Purpose dissolves into appetite. The sculptor himself is a warning carved in wood and stone. Once a shinobi who slaughtered endlessly, he nearly became Shura before Ishin stopped him. Now, he spends his days carving Buddha statues, trying to quiet the flames within. But repression is not healing. Hatred does not vanish because you ignore it. Eventually, he transforms into the demon of hatred, a towering inferno of resentment made flesh. His metamorphosis is tragic because it feels inevitable. In Sekiro, violence is not an isolated act. It accumulates, it lingers, it waits. Perhaps the most quietly heartbreaking figure in the entire story is the divine child of rejuvenation, She is one of many children experimented on by Senpu monks, the sole survivor of their grotesque pursuit of artificial divinity. Raised in isolation, treated as a sacred object rather than a person, she nonetheless shows compassion and agency. In the return ending, she chooses to leave Japan altogether, guiding the dragon's heritage back to its origin. It is the only ending that suggests breaking the cycle entirely, but even that hope requires uncertainty. Sekiro does not offer heroic victory. It offers the possibility of healing, slowly, far away from the rot. What makes Sekiro's lore so grim isn't just its unsettling imagery. It's the theme tying everything together. The refusal to let go. This northern land cannot accept that its heir has ended. Genichiro cannot accept weakness. Ao cannot accept fading into obscurity. The monks cannot accept human limitation. Immortality in Sekiro is not framed as a blessing denied. It's a temptation resisted. The true courage in this world is not surviving forever. It's accepting that you shouldn't. By the time the credits roll, everything is still collapsing. The snow still falls over broken walls and scattered bodies. But if you guide Wolf towards severance or return, he makes a choice no one else in the story can make. He chooses release. He chooses to end the cycle rather than dominate it. In a game obsessed with swordplay and precision, that final decision is the sharpest cut of all.